Now, as you've probably seen from the many camera flashes in Singapore this Tuesday, the world's press has been following this milestone meeting very closely. Diptyque Laurent has been tracking reaction online and in the press for us. She joins us now live on set. Diptyque, talk us through some of the reaction that you've picked up on so far.
Well, first things first, this is a historic summit, no doubt about that, Thomas. But there's something just as surprising. If you look at Donald Trump's Twitter account, for the past 7 hours now, he has not tweeted anything.
And he's been too busy talking.
He's been too busy talking. And there you see his last tweet was a long time ago, before this summit took place. And I guess you can always gauge by the importance of a Donald Trump meeting when he's not tweeting midway through it. So a good sign, perhaps a sign of success, as he's been touting all morning. Now, the Korea Times talks about a historic handshake, smiles, a meal together, the two men taking a private walk, and of course the historic document signing now as a success perhaps of this summit. While this user here is wondering what many of us no doubt might be thinking, does this mean we're allies with North Korea now? Well, I think only time will tell, and indeed Donald Trump's statement later on this Tuesday will give us more of an insight there. In any case, it's safe to say his relations with North Korea are much better than that of his relations with the West. Here you have the two leaders watching the sun set on the Western alliance.
Rather cruel depiction of each leader. We don't really know which one's which here, but it's still
take
quite cruel. We can take a guess.
We can take an educated guess there, which one is which. But yeah, it's incredible how those shapes can actually really resemble world leaders. And Libération has a fantastic headline here, front page. They call it the Kim-Trump Summit. In fact, they've morphed the two leaders' faces together and allow the readers today to decide the theme of the summit. Is it historic or is it hysteric? It's
quite a disturbing image there on the front page of Libération here in France this Tuesday morning. Now, Diptyque, what about the Korean press? What are you seeing there?
Well, let's show you the Korean version of the Huffington Post. Signed, that's what they say here, with a picture clearly of the two men signing that document. The world will see great changes. That's what the website predicts after the summit, and reports that Kim, talking to Trump through his interpreter, likened the summit to a sci-fi fantasy movie earlier this Tuesday. So perhaps a sign that even he was astonished how far these talks have gotten, how much advances they've made. Now, this is from Rodong Sinmun, which is the official newspaper for the North Korean government. As we saw earlier, very matter-of-fact updates, the last one being Kim Jong-un tours Singapore. Now, The Guardian notes that, in fact, in Pyongyang, people there have gathered in front of a large screen, which have been beaming images of the summit to people there. Pretty unprecedented move for the North Korean media.
But one thing that hasn't come up or come out of these talks is the issue of North Korea's human rights record. That's an issue that papers are also evoking.
Well, a lot of papers say that both issues are not mutually exclusive. And in fact, the Washington Post says human rights is a back burner issue at the summit. Obviously, because the priority is nuclear weapons, and given the optics of the summit, talking about human rights is probably not conducive to what they wanted to achieve from the summit, the smiles, the handshakes, and so forth. Now, the Washington Post does tell us that the most well-known report we have into human rights abuses in North Korea dates back to 2014 by the UN, which did find systematic evidence of rape, torture, enslavement, forced starvation, and sexual violence on the North Korean population. And they say investigators may even have enough evidence to charge the North Korean regime with 10 war crimes. Now, there's a really interesting article from the conservative U.S. publication Washington Times that says if Trump wants Kim to give up his nukes, then he must speak up for those North Koreans who cannot speak for themselves, and really alludes to the fact that South Korea back in 1980 was a military dictatorship, but was brought down because the U.S. used its influence to advance human rights. Perhaps North Korea could enjoy the same democratic fate if Trump uses his influence this time.
Now, there's one man who's bizarrely been a major advocate of these talks, and that's Kim Jong-un's rather close buddy, best friend, whatever you wish, the former basketball star Dennis Rodman.
Well, Rodman's made quite a few trips to North Korea to meet with his, I guess we can call them buddies now, or bromates, if you like.
Little bromance going on, why not?
It's bromance all around here. Now, Dennis Rodman did fly to Singapore for the summit. He was not invited. But his trip was sponsored by a marijuana-related cryptocurrency company.
Goodness me.
I had trouble getting that out. Good luck trying to figure out what they do. Now, here's a picture of him just after he arrived. Potcoin. Here's a picture of him in Singapore. And in fact, he was also wearing the Make America Great Again hat. Now, he gave an interview in which he actually cried with joy about how happy he was to see his best friends, Donald Trump and Kim, finally meeting together. Indeed, before that, he was the only man who had met with the two leaders separately. In fact, Vox explains that so large was Rodman's presence that his name was actually trending ahead of the Trump-Kim summit, hashtag Trump-Kim summit on Twitter. Unusual as it is, there's nothing really ordinary about this summit. After all, the guy of The Apprentice is now the US president. Kim Kardashian is successfully discussing justice reform. So why not Dennis Rodman to help push along relations with North Korea?
And there's also been some focus on the more personal aspects of this meeting.
Indeed. Well, the New York Post tells us that Kim Jong-un brought his own toilet to the summit, not out of vanity, Thomas, but rather out of paranoia. He's really, you'll pardon the pun, he's really anal about people trying to get into his stools and glean information about his health. So he was taking no chances, bringing around his own porta potty. In fact, it's his third time abroad, and it is indeed the third time he's brought a portable loo with him.
Decadent, luxuriant, or bizarre, we don't know, but
Paranoid.
Yeah, maybe. Diptyque Lohan with that press review. Thank you very much.